Hey guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to go over the whole history of the Silo universe so we can clear up any questions you've got about this story. We're going to check out why the silos were actually built, what happened that forced people to live in M, and what the heck even went down with planet Earth to get it into this state. This video is based on the second book in the Silo series called Shift, which takes place 290 years before Juliet's storyline. So don't worry, I won't spoil Juliet's plot here, but I will be spoiling some major background info that the show's slowly gonna feed us. If you guys want, I can also do a follow-up covering the third book, so you can find out what happens to Juliet and the other characters. That totally depends on your comments and how much you're into this. Anyway, these videos are heavy on spoilers. But come on, the show is dragging this story out so much, waiting 3 or 4 years just to figure out what's going on is straight up cruel? Oh, by the way, I haven't actually read the books myself. I'm putting this together based on stuff I gathered from online. So if you have read M, I'd really appreciate you dropping extra details in the comments. Alright, that's enough talk. This is Movie Club. Let's jump into the video. So, like I said, the book's story takes us back 290 years before Juliet. The events of Season 1 take place in the year 2345 AD, but right now we're heading back to 2149, which isn't that far off from our actual timeline. We're looking at a world that's pretty similar to today, so according to the author's imagination, these events could actually go down just 24 years from now. Anyway, in 2049, the U.S. government is planning to work on this big project called the CDF, which stands for Containment and Disposal Facility. Basically a place to contain and get rid of nasty stuff. The big shot behind this project is Senator Paul Thurman, and he hires a professional architect named Donald Keene to design the silo structures. Paul Thurman had convinced Donald Keene that the CDF project was meant for burying nuclear waste. As you probably know, one of humanity's biggest headaches right now is getting rid of radioactive waste because it's super dangerous and can cause all sorts of problems. Anyway, the project kicks off in Atlanta, Georgia, which is the main city of that state. We actually got a hint of this back in Season 1, when the characters find a magazine showing the beautiful landscapes of Georgia. At first, the silo structures were designed to be above ground towers, but Paul gradually shifted the whole project so they'd be built underground instead. Overall, there were a lot of shady, suspicious things about the designs that Donald Keene just didn't catch on to. Finishing the silos took about 3 years, and they were finally completed in 2052. And here's the kicker. Right in that same year, exactly on opening day and the big ribbon-cutting ceremony, several nuclear explosions hit Atlanta, forcing people to rush into the silos just to stay alive. You might be thinking, what are the odds? Could that timing really be a coincidence? Well, nope, it wasn't. In the second book, we find out this timing was no accident at all. The whole thing was Senator Paul Thurman's long-term master plan. He claimed he wanted to protect people from an even more dangerous weapon. Apparently, back in that era, nanotechnology had advanced like crazy. Medical scientists had invented nanobots that could enter the human body, copy themselves, and cure diseases. But terrorists managed to hack these nanobots and turn M into weapons for mass murder. These bots could even mess with a victim's memories, making them completely forget major events without even realizing it. So, the technology that was supposed to save humanity turned into the deadliest weapon possible. As a result, Thurman used the nuclear blasts to force everyone into the silos so they could ride out the nanobot threat for a 500-year period and then rebuild civilization from scratch. The people didn't have any choice but to go along with it, 'cause the moment they stepped outside, the nanotech in the air would kill M. Plus, after the nukes went off, there was basically nothing left on the surface to make life possible anyway. Alright, now let's talk about the structure of the silos. In total, 50 silos were built and all 50 were connected to each other through communication links. The head honcho of each silo can get in touch with the others to receive orders from higher ups when needed. Among these 50 silos, Silo 1 is the most important. It's basically the control center for all the rest. The staff in Silo 1 keep an eye on the other silos 24/7 to make sure everything's running smoothly and life keeps going down there. If the people in one of the silos start a riot and things get out of hand, Silo 1 has the ability to just reset life in that silo. Basically, whenever they feel like it, they can release poisonous gas to wipe out the whole population, leaving only a few special individuals alive so they can start the whole thing. As you know, building any kind of elevator in the regular silos is strictly forbidden. They don't have Silo 1 is the exception, though. It's got a fancy elevator. Even though having an elevator seems like an advantage, the downside is that each floor is separated by solid concrete ceilings, so you can't see the whole vertical structure through the stairwell like you can in the other silos. You might say, wouldn't it be better if the normal silos also had concrete ceilings to keep people from seeing up and down? Yeah, it would be better, but then they wouldn't be able to release the poison gas throughout the whole silo in one go. They'd have to do it floor by floor, which would be way more of a hassle. And that's actually the author's own explanation for this design choice. Silo 1 has a few leaders, and each one has to take a 6-month shift running the place. During that 6-month period, the other leaders go into cryogenic sleep so they can keep this cycle going for centuries without getting old. Cryogenic sleep is basically freezing people, putting their whole bodies in extreme cold so cells freeze and aging slows down. Of course, this idea has a ton of problems in reality. One obvious issue is that water expands by about 10% when it freezes, so when you thaw them back to normal temperature, it destroys all the tissue. If you do this to a fruit, you'll see it completely falls apart after it defrosts. But hey, this is sci-fi, so we just assume they figured out a way around that. Silo 1 also has access to a bunch of drones that can go outside and gather intel if needed. But their more important use is whenever people from a silo actually manage to get outside. That's when the drones jump into action to take 'em all out. Silo 1 has a pretty sinister goal, and honestly, even a lot of its own leaders aren't fully aware of it. According to Paul Thurman's plan, life in the silos is supposed to last exactly 500 years. After that, only the people from one of the silos get chosen to return to the surface. The people in the other 49 silos, well, they're pretty much doomed. You might ask, how's that one silo going to be chosen? Well, that job's left to an AI which uses a specific algorithm to analyze everyone's behavior and pick the best group to rebuild human civilization. Honestly, the whole idea is basically a take on the story of Noah's Ark, where God sends a massive flood and no one survives except those on the ark, and they go on to repopulate the world. The Silo series paints a picture of a world where humans put themselves in the role of God, trying to filter out humanity so that only the best ones worthy of living in paradise get to survive. You might find it interesting that Hugh Howey actually wrote this story inspired by two major events from 2007. In 2007, scientists announced they'd built tiny robots that absolutely cannot be seen with the naked eye, and they were going to use them for medical purposes. And in that same exact year, TV was airing programs about the effects of a drug called propranolol for memory loss. Scientists believed they could use propranolol to wipe out bad memories in mental patients so they wouldn't be haunted by severe trauma anymore. And that's how Hugh Howey, 4 years later, published the first Silo series and incorporated all these ideas into his ski-fi story. Alright guys, that's it from me. If you want me to go over the third book so you can find out the fate of Juliet and her companions, make sure to drop a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to hit that like and comment. Until next time on the Movie Club channel.
Take care of yourselves and goodbye.